Hey, Rabbi.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
It's been a long time,
It's
Kaka.
a hiatus. Can't
Okay,
do
so
that
we're
again.
going for an hour today.
Yeah, no
Bezrat
problem.
Hashem.
Double, make up the time.
Less than 10 minutes on the Parasha.
Good to see you.
I've been reading this book by Adam Grant. It came out a couple of years ago called Hidden Potential.
Okay.
So he has this, I think, very well stated idea in which he talks about freaks of nature. When you hear the phrase freaks of nature, you think like these people who are just born different. You know, like you compete with them, you feel like you're competing against a different species. They have skills and abilities that seem to be so innate and inborn that they're leaps and bounds beyond a normal, regular person in that specific field, right? They're a freak of nature, he says. But he says that most people that we hear about that are famous in regards to their accomplishments or what they've built or what they've achieved are not freaks of nature. He says freaks of nature are very, very rare. He says most people are freaks of nurture. Freaks of nurture, I want to change the word a little bit, just out of respect for the phrase. People who have been nurtured, who have been developed, who have been taught, who have trained themselves through nurture, through training, and in an incredible way, beyond like a normal person, right? They've worked harder, they've studied harder, they've put more effort and time into their specific craft and field beyond the average person. And when you look at them, you don't necessarily know everything that went into the preparation and the training that they had. They seem to just be above and beyond.
You just assume that's the way they are.
But they're really not freaks of nature. They're freaks of nurture. They have unique stamina or grit, resilience, right? Effort that they put into their work that has allowed them to achieve what they've achieved. And when I read our Parasha that talks about Bezalel, it seems like he is, right? I'm going to change the phrase. It seems like he's godly endowed. He has abilities that are coming from Shamayim that are above and beyond the average person that he has. He looks at things in a different way. His spatial intelligence, his chokhmah with building, with using materials is not like a regular person, right? He has incredibly God-given Bezalel. Yeah, he's above and beyond. Like I have zero spatial intelligence. I'm very bad with, right? It's just not something. I just don't know how to fix things in the house.
Me too. I can't build nothing.
I can't build anything. I can't fix things, and I also have.
I can't cook.
Yeah. The list for me goes very long,
okay,
Rabbi.
I got you. We have time.
Exactly. So I think that certain people are very skilled in certain things, and they have deficiencies in other matters, right? But Bezalel was incredibly gifted in his ability to construct and his spatial intelligence. And then in the Parasha, I think it hints to a different kind of unique ability, not necessarily got everything. All of our abilities come from in the potential from Borei Olam, but in this case, I think it's a little bit different. The pasuk says, "V'chol hanashim asher nasa liban otana bechokhma tavu et ha'izim." Right, the Mefarshim explained that the it's not sewing; it's called spinning. I don't know the difference, but in constructing and manufacturing, right, the different materials that needed to be threaded and sewn and spun, right, for the Mishkan, for the Yeriot, and so on. So it was a tremendously difficult thing. There were women in the previous pasuk. It says, "V'chol isha chachmat lev beyadea tavu." These were women that were chachmat lev. They were very intelligent, maybe born with this ability, and they did. And then the next pasuk says, then the women that nasa liban.
What's that?
What does that mean, nasa liban? So it seems maybe that nasa liban means they weren't born with that ability, right? They were not necessarily so good at spinning and using these threads and the sewing and so on. But they wanted to so badly to contribute in some way, shape, or form to the Mishkan, which I think is a lot what we read in these parashot, that people are coming out in however they can help, however they can be part of this Avodat HaKodesh, they want to come out and help. And these women in the second pasuk, right, Asher Nasa Liban, are people seemingly that didn't have God-given abilities, but they had incredible drive to learn. They were freaks of nurture in a way that you could say, right? They worked so hard to be able to be on the level because they weren't accepting things in the Mishkan that weren't done well, right? If it was going to be, right, offered in the Mishkan and used, it had to be of the highest quality, of the best performance. So it seems maybe that these women, they worked so hard. And we see with our students, you know, certain students have like like incredible, almost you could say born ability.
It just flows.
Yeah, it flows. They just have it. You know what I mean? And then you see some of those students who they don't have it, but then they work so hard to be able to. And for me personally, sometimes I'm more inspired.
Yeah, the satisfaction.
Yeah, by the second, by the second one over the first one.
Correct.
The kid who it's so hard for them, but then they just work so hard and they study so hard and then they succeed. You say, wow, look at.
It's like the underdog.
Yeah, the underdog. You root for them.
Always.
In a way, you root for, and you're so proud of them when they get there. And I think that there's something special about that. Something special about working against the hardest things that you have and overcoming them and becoming better. And I think that is maybe one of the things that the Parasha is highlighting. The uniqueness of that ability. Just because you're not good in something does not mean you should be counted out.
You think Aholiab also possessed that trait, or
because you had Betzalel,
correct,
who's clearly the orchestrator.
We don't know anything about Aholiab.
Right, Aholiab is like the second. He's like the assistant, the helper to Betzalel. We don't know much.
So maybe he's the guy
maybe Betzalel was the guy given the godly gift, and Aholiab was the one that worked towards it. That's very interesting.
Correct.
That's very interesting. It seems at least that both of these are valued.
No, because also look at Aholiab, it comes from Dan. Dan was the one that was in the end of the Mahaneh because of the Avodah Zarah they have of Micha. So he was shunned away, so to speak. I'm not sure, but but you have Aholiab, Shevet Yehuda, Malchut.
It makes a lot of sense for it to be him. Aholiab doesn't make sense. And maybe he worked his way up.
Correct.
Right, that's so nice.
To your point.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hakam Bezrat Hashem, we should see, and encourage the people
Always.
that are around us.
Always.
You may not be gifted in that specific thing. Don't think that you're out. Don't think that it's not for you, especially when it comes to Torah.
Always try.
Always try, always make your effort. And when it comes to Torah, nobody achieves success in Torah without the person being memit atzmo. Memit atzmo is the only way to get this. It doesn't 100%. Come through inheritance. It doesn't come naturally born. It's the person that works hard, that puts the effort, that cares about it. The freaks of nature, right? Changing the phrase, the person that has the most resilience and the most dedication to the limud, that's the person who, at the end of the day, ends up achieving the greatest portion of Torah, is because they worked hard.
Yes.
Bezrat Hashem, we should all be zocheh.
Amen. Bezrat Hashem.
I don't know, Rabbi, you have it from Shamayim also.
For sure. I don't want to say it. I don't want to brag, but
you work very hard. You work very hard, Rabbi,
right,
but it also comes from up down.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi. Good to see you again. Take care.